matter? What do the people higher status do to the people lower status? So, as you go through prehistory, certain facts seem to crop up again and again and again that are worth pointing out. Societies were hierarchical. You see this over and over. And it's nice, some people like to imagine there were times that this did not exist. And maybe there were, but the majority of societies are hierarchical. Most societies, the males tend to rule over women. Now, I do have to say, this does not mean that I think this should be the case. Also, what is somewhat striking to us is how they were hereditary. That's one of the things that is really striking me in this world history class, how recently people would say, I deserve to be the ruler because I'm part of a dynasty. Right? They're like, why should Napoleon III be the leader, be emperor? Well, he's part of that family.
Yay, nepotism.
What?
Yay, nepotism.
Yay, nepotism. But I mean, that went on. I mean,
It still goes on.
it still goes on, right? It still goes on all over the place. But you start thinking, when you start thinking, well, the way we think one should select a ruler is, you vote, blah, blah, blah. In many cultures, in many places, the way a ruler was selected is you were born into a family. I just finished a lecture series on the year 1066, and the whole Battle of Hastings and stuff was who was going to be ruler of England. And they went and found some dude, some kid somewhere who happened to be like, I know, I mean, whenever I talk about 1066, God's like, oh, you know, he loves 1066. It's weird, I don't know why. But it was like they found some little kid, and he's like, okay, you're related to this family, so we're going to make you the ruler. Yeah, I read it. So let's look at some examples of this. We've already discussed Indo-Europeans. Remember, these people lived around the Black Sea about 5,000 years ago. They clearly, so this is going back into prehistory, they clearly had some form of social ranking. We can even reconstruct the word they had for their leader, Reg. Is that word familiar to anyone? Regal, Regina, Rex. If you've ever read Oedipus Rex, what is the Rex part of his name? King. I mean, we still have these words. We have lots of words for female and male leaders. So we have Rex, Regina. I mean, so they clearly had some form of social ranking that's worth knowing. We not only have words for king, but words subject to those kings. And the words for the subjects were the people who had to listen to the king. This goes back to prehistory, that we have these hierarchies, and wow. Here's one of the best reconstructed phrases from Indo-European. They reconstructed the word for wealth. And the word for wealth was cattle and men. To own cattle and to own men was the word for wealth. It's like, oh, that's intriguing. Some other examples. We also have words for masters and slaves. Most societies have tolerated some form of slavery. And again, I have to say, the naturalistic fallacy is saying that this is the way things ought to be. But it's sort of intriguing that many cultures have tolerated this. Right? Because in our view, we're like, oh, we can't do that anymore, and which is great. But but we're asking these questions. We have to go, well, why have many cultures allowed this? Oh, here it is. Here's this word for wealth. Wiri akol. Men and livestock was the word for wealth. Huh. You know what? It's like, why for thousands of years? I mean, the Greeks tolerated this. The Romans tolerated this. Early Christianity tolerated this. Many Christian countries tolerated this. All over the globe. And how do you think people treated those slaves? What? Not very well. Not very well. Give some more examples of this. We we see that it's hereditary. If we go back to Indo-European, a lot of their words for noble are actually just words meaning good birth. To sort of see the issue here, when we ask people in our country, does our culture explicitly adopt this view? Do we think that your worth is determined by your birth?
My parents call me the spare, my brother the heir. I'm second.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's
Spare and heir.
Yeah.
I'm glad they have a spare. But you can see how gender being on the, so in many cultures there was what, primogeniture, where the firstborn son would inherit everything. So I guess you should be happy to be called a spare now.
I mean, yeah, I've stepped up. Yeah.
You've sort of stepped up. Because in many cultures you would not be the spare, you would be the... Isn't that the entire plot, the entire driving line of Downton Abbey? You ever watch this? Yeah, isn't that the entire driving plot? Is that they didn't have a male... What?
She has to get married because they didn't have a son.
Yeah, they didn't have a son.
Trying to bring in that cousin guy
Yeah, they got to bring in Matthew
and
and...
because the other guy died on the Titanic.
Because the other guy died on the Titanic, and you go, why couldn't the women inherit? Well, they couldn't.
Because they're women.
I know, it's sort of, we don't like to think that, but that's, when is that set, 1918? That's only 100 years ago. It's not that long ago. People of higher status have done lots of things to protect their higher status. Very often they had different forms of clothing. So here's a nice example where the Romans had laws that you could only wear certain colors if you were of a certain status. So we have the color royal purple because only the royals could wear it.
Why are Christian Louboutin shoes the soles red?
I don't know.
Because royals in France were only allowed, like, under Louis, they were the kings and the
Huh?
could only wear red, so that's.
I don't know everything about every fabric. I know the way I'm dressed. You're like, that man has some fashion sense.
But that's the reason why they do the shoes the sole red, because the royals were only allowed to have, and of course that's when the men still had a heel on their shoe that was visible.
Yeah, didn't French men wear high heels?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah, because height is one of the things too that seems to matter. You can actually go across cultures, and height tends to be correlated with status as well, for what that's worth. You can even see this. One of the weirdest places to see this is in the terracotta figurines of the Emperor of China. There's height differences in those reflecting status. Like they actually made the terracotta figurines of different heights. Let's see. Italy had sumptuary laws. So this is a beautiful painting by Titian, but the way these worked is they had these sumptuary laws which prevented people from wearing ostentatious fabrics, but what people would do is they would cut the outer fabric so they would let the expensive fabric show through. I mean, okay, think about our culture and clothing. Does our culture use clothing to show status?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Well, and many schools say, well, let's just have a dress code. Is that going to work? Why don't you think this is going to work?
I mean, I went to Birmingham City Schools where they do have a dress code, and it just, maybe a uniform might work, but a dress code, like, still people with nicer, whiter shirts, still, you can tell the difference.
Yeah, you're going to notice that that's an expensive whiter shirt. That's made, I don't know.
Well, accessories too.
Well, we were allowed to wear accessories.
But I'm saying that if you're wearing, like at Catholic school, okay, you're wearing this, but look at the shoes they're wearing.
No, just look at the car they drive.
Yeah.
We were like,
John Carroll High School, were uniform, but they're rolling up in a Mercedes, so it's like,
What? I had a big limousine that I drove to school. It was orange, and invited some friends to come with me every day. It was a school bus. That's where I fit on these things. Okay, so you start thinking about the ways in which our culture shows status, right? We do it in our cars, our clothing. What else? I know people pay lots of money to live in certain zip codes.
Yeah, my mom. That's,
Just to live, what zip code she want?
she moved to Naples, Florida. I guess that's a nicer area, just to be in Naples, Florida.
Yeah, or people, I know people here will pay for the Mountain Brook zip code. Like, which one that zip code?
Really? So the mail
Yeah.
guy knows their status?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know zip codes, so they're not speaking to me, but they're speaking to someone. Or not to pick on females, but purses.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Coaching,
Louis Vuitton.
all that garbage.
Y'all are. Right? I know shoes too, but I mean, think of all the ways in which we're trying to give subtle cues of this is my status, you know, versus I'm trying to think of others. Just cars, clothing, watches. Because watches are really now an accessory of an accessory with everyone having phones. So you gotta start thinking of the ways in which we do this and then we rank people into these statuses. What did I do on Friday? Is that true? Is today Wednesday? Okay. I don't even know what day it is, and I'm wearing a watch. Or once a week it tells me to marry. It says wed. No, just I'll be here all week, people. On Friday, we're going to look at some of the ways in which it was patriarchal. We're going to keep looking at status across cultures, chapters on India. That's Friday.